So you're welcome again. All right. So now I try to give a background study, all right, of how we got to the place of arguing for zoning. And then, so I was trying to tell you that people have been asking if zoning is a tenet of democracy, if zoning is a democratic principle. Now the question, and that's why I wanted to ask, are tenets of democracy cast in stone? Are they? Now, let us give a brief history of democracy. Now, of course, we know democracy started in Athens, that is in Greece. Now the Greeks, of course, started with they started a democracy. They wanted people to participate in democracy. All right, they wanted the people to come together because civilization started, philosophy started in Greece. Civilization started there. So a lot of Greeks became aware. They became knowledgeable. They became reasonable, rational, and thinking critically. So now they started thinking of how to best form to best run a state. And now, so they felt, and then they came up with the principle that, okay, everybody needs to participate in the running of states. All right, and that is democracy, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So the people come together, they make law for themselves. All right, and then they make law by themselves. They come together by themselves, make law by themselves, and they execute this law for themselves. Do you understand? That's how democracy started, the participation of the people, and that is direct democracy. Now, as population grew, and there were more and more people, the practice of direct democracy, where everybody will be involved in state running, became, it was becoming chaotic, because imagine 1 million people sitting down and everybody wanting to make his or her own argument. Do you imagine that? Not to talk of Nigeria, for instance, where we have 200 million people. Imagine all of us. Where is the building that is going to contain 2 million people trying to all come together, air their opinion on how things should be done? And that's how because direct democracy was becoming impracticable, and that's how indirect democracy came to be. Indirect democracy, of course, is that the people have now come together and they elect representational. Indirect democracy, or you call it representational democracy. All right, so they come together, elect representatives who now go there and speak for them. And that's why, so representatives are not there for themselves or for their own thinking. They are there to think for the people. The people think for them. The people are supposed to think for the representatives and tell them, this is what you're going to do there for us. You're there on our mandate and you represent our interests. And that's how representational democracy came. Now recall now, let's start from there. Now you understand that democracy, when it started, it was direct democracy. Everybody was participating. But when existential existentialism, that is, because it was practically everybody was seeing it, made it impossible for everybody to participate. Now there had to be some reformations, and then indirect democracy started, a representational democracy, where the people have to elect representatives who will go to represent them. And then, of course, to lessen the number of people who are arguing or making arguments on how a state should be run. All right. Now, then over time, democracy kept taking forms and reshaping, because people, when, of course, scholars started saying, okay, democracy is good here, but it's deficient here. How do we make it better? How do we make it, of course, how do we make it better to serve people better, and to, to ensure that the state, a democratic state, is better run? And that's how the separation of power, the idea of separation of power started. Of course, separation of power has been credited to so many people, from John Calvin to John Locke, but then most pronounced, however you want to put it, to Baron de Montesquieu. He's the one, of course, that is now credited with finally elucidating and explicating the idea and the concept and the theory of separation of power. That the legislature should be different from the executive and the judiciary to make for checks and balances. This became necessary because they've now found out that concentrating power on an individual, for instance on a president or on the representatives, started giving rise to abuse of power. Imagine somebody making law, one person making law, the one person executing the law, and one person being the one adjudicating the law. So this person carries out an act, and then the people are complaining this act is wrong, and then he will still be the one who will sit on judgment on the action that the people are complaining that he carried out that is wrong. And it doesn't make sense. No one should, nemo judex in causa est. You can't be a judge in your own case. All right. So that was how the idea of separation of power came. Understand it. That is the third mutilation. Now, because of social demand, because of what was now evident in what democracy was, it became necessary that power is separated from the judiciary to the executive to the legislature. So the legislature makes the law, the executive executes the law, and then the judiciary will decide if the executive have gone off the law and was now being vindictive or now going out of the rule of law. All right, I understood. Okay, fine. Now along the line, then came in the legislature. When it first started, it was, of course, they say that the British Parliament is the mother of all parliaments. So it was, when it first started, it was just for the House of Lords, all right. The rich and maybe the church, the priests, were the ones who participated in deciding and making laws, all right. Until further on, the commoners, the bourgeoisie and the knights and the people on the lower the lower cadre of the food chain started to also come together, and that's how the House of Commons started. So now, and that was what gave rise to bicameral legislature, that is the Senate and the House of Rep that we have as we have it in Nigeria. And the idea, what I'm brought about is that even in the legislature, there should be checks and balances, because it now started to occur that the executives could now buy over the legislature, or sometimes, because in the parliamentary system of government, for instance, what is it called? The head of parliament, all right, who is also the head of state, is most of the time they want to execute the law. And then now the Senate, of course, is part of the Senate. Of course, there is going to be much questions, and maybe sometimes they can make arbitrary law. And when they make and pass these arbitrary laws, the judiciary will only interpret what has been made as law, whether it's arbitrary or whether it's not arbitrary. Once it's now passed by the parliament and assented to by the head of government, it becomes a law that everybody must abide by. And that was how it became necessary that even in the legislature that there should be checks and balances, even in the legislature, that the two houses have to agree. The house of the Senate, or the House of Lords, and the House of Commons. And the House of Commons is there to protect the interests of the commoners, of the people that are lower in the food chain. So that not just the House of Lords being there to make laws that favor the rich or favor the people in the higher echelon of the society. All right. So, and that's how the idea of bicameral legislature came by. And of course, it makes a lot of sense. But of course, looking at what is evident, or what is obtainable in the in Nigeria today, you will see that both the Senate and the House of Rep is now bought over by the executive. But let's not talk about that. But that's to tell you how the tenets of democracy kept evolving due to social demands. The only thing that is constant, even though not constant, are scientific theories. All right, that that Ohm's law is this, and that energy is E equals to M plus whatever nz or however. These are the things that are constant, and so even as they are constant, scientists are continually investigating and probing these theories. Before, atom were the smallest indestructible and indissoluble particles, until it was further broken down, and it was now discovered that even atoms could further be broken down, and that's how quantum physics or quantum mechanics, quantum physics came about. Let's not digress that much. So just to tell you that even scientific principles are continually being probed to see how they can be modified, to see if there are no changes. Not to talk of social principles. Social principles, social theories are continually evolving as as society keeps evolving, as new realities keeps coming on in society. These social theories are supposed to continue to evolve. Now, and that's I just wanted to give you a background of the tenets of how the tenets of democracy started, and how they picked up, and how we came to have what we have today as the tenets, what people think are the tenets of democracy. But now, why did people not argue when they wanted to bring indirect democracy that no, that is not democracy? In indirect democracy, electing people to go there, they might not say what we want them to say, they might not really represent our interests. No, there should not be indirect democracy. Everybody must continue to participate, or it's no longer democracy. When they talked about separation of power, why did people not argue? No, don't separate power. Power must reside on the head of state, or on the president. If not, he should be the one to make laws. He should be the one to execute the law, and he should be the one to adjudicate cases. If not, it's no longer democracy. Why did they not argue that way? When they took the idea of bicameral legislature came, why did people not argue? No, it's no longer democracy if there is the House of Lords, or the House of Senate, and the House of Commons, or the House of Representatives. Do you understand it? Why did people not argue that way? No, these were modifications, necessary modifications due to societal or social evolutions that that necessitated those changes. And that brings us to Nigeria. Now, our democratic principles, these democratic tenets, are they cast in stone? The reason for all this these arguments, I want to call it, but okay, fine, it doesn't make intellectual sense to call it stupid, because it is a standpoint of someone, and it's not stupid for the person to stand there, because he has his or her reason for standing, for maintaining a certain standpoint. So forgive me if I call it stupid. So, but the reason for this kind of argument is due to half education, or lack of intellectuality, or lack of critical thinking. Because if we were educated enough, if we were critical enough, we will understand that we would understand that instead of maintaining a structural point of view, we maintain a deconstructional point of view, that you deconstruct. You are not educated, you are not intellectually capable enough, you're not educated enough if you cannot deconstruct principles to reconstruct them to fit the societal demands, or the social demands of your immediate environment. You are not educated yet. If you cannot deconstruct it now means that you did not understand the concept. What you did was just to cram, to read as it is in the book. You see it as a book principle. You see it as a book theory. It's there in the book. No, you're supposed to understand it. You're supposed to read these principles, these theories, internalize them, and you will be able to reconstruct them to fit your society, your immediate society. Who says that we cannot deconstruct democracy, to deconstruct democracy and reconstruct it drop some tenets that we feel are not useful to our society, and then fuse in some tenets that will be useful to our democracy? It's by us. It's us. Those tenets of democracy were defined by people, by human beings with brains. Why must we argue and protect what others argued for, the what others theorize. Why can't we theorize to suit our demands, the social demands of the Nigeria of today? From north to south, from there's a lot of divisions along ethnic and religious line. So why can't we come together for now, for the time being? You can't say no. A religious consideration is not a democratic tenet. Ethnic consideration is not democratic. No, your society, the Nigerian society of today, due to the actions of inaction or the actions or inactions of our past leaders, now demands, it now made Nigeria, the Nigerian political system, to be now pervade with religious and ethnic thinking. If something is not, I want to see it. Is that an Igbo man? No, it's not an Igbo man. Oh, I'm relegated. My people are being relegated. Someone looks, is that an Hausa man? No, it's not an Hausa man. Nyamiri has come. Is that so? See, and then if a Muslim is appointed, we are looking at it. Oh, are you sure this person is going to protect the interests of Christians? So, there is need now to balance things up until the time when we get there. We will not have gotten there, and ethnic and religious considerations will naturally fade away. We will no longer talk about them. We will no longer consider them. But until then, they need to be intellectual and scholarly a solution and reconstruction and deconstruction of the principles of the democracy we are practicing to reconstruct and add ideas and tenets and practices that will further the existence and the notion and the cohesion of the Nigerian state. All right. So what I'm arguing for is that the democracy we're arguing about, the democracy we are practicing, can be deconstructed, can be deconstructed, and that we can bring in new principles, bring in new theories and new practices. All right, bring in new practices that will further the unity of Nigeria. And bringing that new practices and new tenets is that Nigeria, we can have a democracy that is made in Nigeria. The democracy that is made in Nigeria. Democracy as system of government first started in Athens, and that was where it became popular and a global phenomenon, a global system of government today. Even though, of course, not all countries are democratic, but of course most countries, majority of the countries are democratic. Or even those countries that some countries that are practicing monarchy, or however, or whatever system of government, they've now come to have even communist states have some democratic elements in them, to make sure that the people do not revolt against the state or against the government. So you see, that it first started in Athens before it was exported to everywhere else in the world. So why can't we have a democracy that is made in Nigeria? That's what intellects do. That's what intelligent people do. That's what people, educated people do. You take a concept, let's localize it. Let's localize democracy. Tear it down. Open it. Open that theory. Open that concept. Open the concept of democracy. Open it. Dissect it. Let's see its component parts. Now, of which of these component parts are useful to Nigeria as a country, or as a city, as a state, as a nation? Which of these tenets are useful? And then, if all of them are useful, fine. Now, what can we add to further make Nigeria more habitable and more peaceful? We add zoning, add religious considerations. It should be part of the Nigerian brand of democracy, that there should be ethnic zoning and religious considerations. Now, when you argue that zoning zoning impedes merit, no. Which part of the country and do not have capable people? Is it the north or the south? Is it the southwest? Or is it the south-south? Or is it the southeast? Where will you go and you say you don't have the capable people? You say you go to the presidency is zoned to southeast and you don't have capable people in the southeast? Or must you elect people that have been there in the democratic place making noise? Is that we only look at the people that are available, or people that have been there making noise saying they are politicians? No. We must not look at them. We can go as a people to invite intellectuals or technocrats from that region and make them and ask them come and run. Thank God the Nigerian Senate are making provisions for independent candidacy so that these people can actually run as independent candidates, and we choose to vote that person instead of voting the people that the parties are presenting if we think that they're not capable enough. Is it the northeast? Is it the northwest? Is it the north central? Which region of Nigeria does not have capable people, intelligent people, technocrats that have made marks either in the national space or even in the global space? And then we argue that it will impede merit. No, it is not going to. No, zoning is not going to impede merit. Whichever zone it gets to, we look for the best in that zone. Except we're arguing that these zones do not have, and that there is one zone. Then anybody that is against zoning and saying it should state and mention that region, that when it gets there, we can find intelligent person to make that can be president. Zoning should not just be about president. It should be across board. And in religious consideration, if this person is Muslim, the person that is going to be close to him should be a Christian. If this person is Christian, the person that should be close to him should be a Muslim, and that's to balance our religious coloration and our ethnic coloration. It will make for national cohesion, so that no region of the country or no part of the divide, part of the belief, or however you want to put it, we feel left behind, or we feel separated from the running of the state, or from the participation in state state running and powers and all that, which will give rise to agitations and counter agitations, and then give and ultimately national and ultimately coerce, and who knows, the worst might happen and lead to the disintegration of Nigeria. I'm saying this because nobody will invite me to a TV, and this is my only space to air my opinion that the tenets of democracy is not cast in stone. They can be deconstructed, and the principles that will make democracy practicable in Nigeria and useful to us in Nigeria and engender national cohesion and harmony is possible. These tenets were defined by people with brains. We are people with brains. We can redefine them. Thank you for being here. If you watched this place, and tell me what you think. Do you disagree or do you agree? And if you think you agree with us, please share this video, comment, like, and share it. Make it viral. Let's tell them this. Let's make them understand that we are people with brains, and we can argue, or we can restructure these things ourselves. They are not cast in stone. Democracy is not cast in stone. Democratic tenets are not cast in stone, and new tenets can be added to them. Thank you, and until next time, I'm Ewo. See you.